So we're here at the Cold Con 2. How have you enjoyed it today, Eoin?
It's been fun because everyone's been really nice. But it's actually it's lovely to get to show the film to people after talking about them for a year. And I think it's been the reaction to it's been really great because people seem to have loved it and they've also got it, and that's been really pleasing. So.
Definitely. Now, we heard in the Q&A, and I talked to Tom earlier, how it came about through a conversation you had with him about how he'd love to, his ideal role would be Lenny from Mice and Men. So what kind of did that spark off in your mind to bring us the film that we saw today?
It sparked off when it was actually just kind of evolving from that character and then trying to figure out the character that he wanted to play, to try and figure out what would make his character turn out that way. So it was the evolution of the character, and then kind of also what would kind of, because his character's quite dark, but he's also, he's not a bad person, as it were. There's just kind of a lot of events happen, and I kind of wanted to show how he would have grown and not grown in reaction to that. So that's kind of where it just kind of evolved from his character, essentially.
And how about the tone of the film as well? Because as you say, it is dark. I mean, what kind of films influenced you when you were writing the script and then directing it? Well,
it's dark, but I also quite see it as being quite beautiful because, I mean, there's a lot of catharsis to it, and you're seeing the kind of the relationship between the brothers and between other various people. And I wanted to kind of try and create that world. I love watching Kieslowski or Wim Wenders' work, and it was kind of Paris, Texas, and kind of Three Colours Blue, which kind of were what was influenced it.
And East of Eden as well, another one maybe?
East of Eden, but not the film though. No, the film's not at all, but just actually from descriptions in the book in terms of how Steinbeck writes, trying to create that type of world and how the characters relate to each other. Yeah.
Now, filmed it in 14 days, which is quite something, isn't it, to make a feature film in that amount of time. What were the kind of challenges you had to deal with doing that?
I mean, the problem with that is that if you lose an hour, you kind of end up losing a scene, and so there's scenes that I had to cut because they suffered because you couldn't, they just didn't quite work. You had no time to to really workshop a lot of them. Or kind of, if something wasn't working, there was very little time to. It would all have to be very pre-storyboarded and had to follow a very, very brisk pattern. So that was the biggest challenge with it.
If you're doing something like that, you're saying about storyboarding and maybe losing some scenes because of time, do you have any rehearsal time and stuff like that before getting going?
No, I mean, I didn't lose any scenes. It just meant that some of the scenes wouldn't have had the kind of the impact that I wanted because maybe I couldn't do certain things with them. I didn't lose any scenes, didn't drop anything ever, but it just meant they didn't have enough time with certain scenes to kind of shoot different angles and kind of give them a certain energy. And then, it didn't have any time for rehearsals, but also you work with actors you trust. You kind of go, I know you're going to do this. You do a quick rehearsal, we had like 20 minutes beforehand, but not, nothing substantial.
Now, you've written this, you directed it, you produced it, and you're in it as well. That must be a pretty difficult task to do all of those things. I mean, some of them happen at different times, but directing and acting is at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's easy when you're working with people who you trust. So if you've got a crew you trust to do their job and do what they're going to do, and then you all kind of work together, and then if you're working with actors who you know are good, I just trust them to do their things. You don't have to worry about it so much.
Obviously, you've got a number of people you work with before. Of course, Tom plays your brother in the film. You've got Brian Fortune in there as well in a small role. You've got Jack Rayner. How did he come on board?
Because I worked with Jack. Gary Shaw is directing Dracula Year Zero, the new one, or Year One. He did a thing about Cuchulainn, and I played Cuchulainn, and Jack was playing young Ferdy, and I'd known Jack for a while, and that's where we first worked together, and then that's where we were like, let's do something. So.
So you look forward to working with these guys again in the future then, Tom and Jack?
Yeah, I like working with people who I know because then you trust each other and you work with people who are good and then you have a nice bond and that's kind of and it's fun,
I mean, how did the experience of making Cold compare to previous films? Because you've obviously made quite a few now, haven't you? The Inside, Christian Blake.
I think the Cold is the only one actually. I put in a bit more money into it, and we ended up with a bit of a budget at the end. But also was the one that was most storyboard and most time, even though it's still very quick. The previous ones, the films were very, very off the cuff, and this one had a bit more time put into it from a script and a kind of a storyboard point of view. But it's still very, very quick.
I know obviously you've got the night shift coming up, so you go off to the States to film that, but writing and directing wise, what would you like to do next? What's in the back burner for you that you'd like to bring forward?
I don't know. I've got a couple of projects. It just depends on which one is easiest to make next. I don't know. It really depends. There's a few people I'm talking to I want to work with, so we're just kind of trying to figure it out. I've got one or two, just not sure which one is going to drop first.
I heard there's some sci-fi and some thrillers and loads of other stuff you've got to go.
Everything apart from a romantic comedy, which ain't going to happen.